Hey, welcome back to the Franchise Happy Hour, where we sip on insights, toast to success, and explore the captivating world of franchising. I'm your host, Dylan DeGroat. Today, we have a franchise expert who's no stranger to the game. He's none other than Keith Liscio, the founder and president of Excelsior Franchise Center, partnered with the Franchise Brokers Association, also known as FBA. Keith has a wealth of experience and a heart full of passion and a knack for making complex franchise concepts seem like an approachable as much as your favorite drink. So grab your favorite beverage, whether it's a classic cocktail, a craft beer, or just a comforting cup of tea, and settle in for an insightful conversation. Keith, welcome to the Franchise Happy Hour.
Thanks, Dylan. I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can live up to the production. Thank you.
Absolutely, Keith. It's all love over here. Trust me. We don't have anything too high end going here, but fantastic. Hey, so whether you're a franchise aficionado, an aspiring franchisee, or just someone who enjoys learning more and getting that knowledge, you're in for a treat. So let's dive right into the world of franchising. All right, Keith. Well, thanks a lot for being here again. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to kind of just sit down. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get started here by just share a little bit about your journey into franchising. How did you become an actual franchise consultant with FBA?
Okay, well, I took a sort of circuitous route to this place. I've been involved in businesses my whole life. When I was a little kid, my dad owned a dry cleaning shop, a liquor store, a meat market. And so even as a little boy, I was always involved in small businesses. As a 5-year-old, I'd be making change behind the counter or stocking shelves. And I always grew up knowing that I'd want to be in business, but didn't really know sort of what path to take. I went to college at Villanova. I got my MBA from the Wharton School, and I worked for places like Procter and Gamble and Nabisco and Kraft. And after kind of having a taste of more corporate life, I decided, no, I really do want to have my own business. So I left Kraft and started a business importing Italian ceramics. And I did that for over a decade. It was a fun business. I got to go to Italy a lot. Never really made any money doing it. And got to a point in my life where I had 2 young kids at home and really needed to make more income. And I actually took an interview with the Midwest Office of Management Recruiters International, which happens to be a franchise business.
Yeah.
And at MRI, they interviewed me and they said, well, we think that you could do this job for our client, but we'd much rather have you working here with us. And so I became an executive recruiter, worked with them for several years, and then eventually struck out on my own and had my own recruiting firm. I did that. I was an executive recruiter for the bulk of my professional career, over 20 years. I sold my interest in my firm, thought that I would even think about retiring, but I just really felt like that wasn't the right fit for me yet. And so I started exploring other opportunities, including franchise ownership.
Yeah.
And found that franchise brokerage was a thing that really capitalized well on the skills that I developed as a recruiter. So one thing led to another. I joined the FBA, became a recruiter, and the rest is history. So I have experience, not only working in lots of different kinds of businesses, but also in franchise businesses. MRI was a franchise. Ironically, they're now part of my inventory, so I can sell MRI franchises to other clients. And even when I was in college, I flipped hamburgers for McDonald's. So I really understand kind of the intricacies of franchising, the training that they offer, the support that's there, the fact that you really are in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I find that really, really important. And so for me, as a recruiter, I move people from one corporate job to another. Now I'm in a position where I can move people from the corporate world into their own business. And I just find that incredibly rewarding and gratifying. I really enjoy it. I like it a lot.
That's amazing. It's so funny when as we talk to, different consultants throughout this whole process. It's so funny to hear.
You talk to other consultants?
Oh, no, definitely not me, right? No. So, it's just so interesting to hear how much the past of like maybe it was their father, grandfather, somebody owned a franchise or owned a business, and that was so instilled in them in such a young age. And then to get into like kind of transition into this career, it's like, wow, this has been almost calling me my whole life. And I love what you said about helping people develop their own business, but not by themselves. Right. And I love that
Mhm.
idea of franchising where, hey, here's the roadmap. They built the car. You just got to drive it. That's kind of how I like to put it, but I love that. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's definitely some good insight for our listeners there. So,
Yeah, I really feel like, in terms of my career, I mean, my whole
mhm,
career has kind of prepared me for this.
yeah,
So I've been involved in small independent businesses. I've been involved in Fortune 500 companies. I've been involved in recruiting where I have to evaluate people's skills and interests to kind of move them into the right job. And so
sure.
now I'm kind of putting all of that together and moving people into their own business, which I think is just great. It's working really well.
Yeah. When you're talking with candidates, where do you find the most, what's the most passionate part to you about working with candidates? What keeps your drive going? What keeps your day to day?
The fact that people really don't understand franchising,
Mhm.
and I'm really, it's a discovery process, and I really help kind of open their eyes and expose them to things they never really considered before.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about people, you talk about franchising to people, they think of McDonald's or
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's how they picture franchises. But we really have, we have businesses that range from advertising the vending machines, and everything in between. We have a tree service business. You wouldn't believe this, Dylan. But there's all kinds of things that are right for people. And so when I actually had a woman this year who was a bench scientist. That's what she did. She
A
she was
bench
a PhD.
scientist.
She did research for companies and universities, and
Mhm.
and that's what she did in her career. And she stopped working to raise her little girl. And when the child got old enough for school, she was kind of looking for something else. And she originally approached me because she thought um, her town could use a new breakfast restaurant. And we have tons of quick serve
Yeah.
restaurants. So I showed her a bunch of options, but I also did a personality assessment on her, an entrepreneurial assessment, and kind of got a better sense of what her values are, her preferred working style, her thought process, her sales orientation.
Sure.
And I was able to show her a bunch of options that she had never, ever considered,
Yeah.
and placed her with a franchise that was completely, certainly not a breakfast restaurant, something
Right.
completely different, but was a perfect fit for her skills and her passion. So that's where I really get my gratification.
I love that. That's awesome. And it's so funny how franchise candidates can come into this process seeing a direct need, right? Seeing like, this is what I'm set on because I know my community or, the families in my area, they need this service. But then sometimes they come in and it's like, well, it's a breakfast place, right? Do you need another breakfast spot? But hey, here's this other concept that, based on just like you said, your values, what you're looking to really make an impact on, just go talk to them, right? Is that kind of how you position this? Like when you're presenting like a new idea to a franchise candidate, what's kind of your process, especially if maybe they're not so receptive right off the bat?
Sure. So the first thing I do, after having kind of an introductory conversation and sort of
Mhm.
seeing what they're looking for, where they are in their career, or, why they're evaluating business ownership. The other thing is candidates often are very open to the idea of business ownership, but they
Sure.
haven't considered franchise ownership. So
Yeah.
franchising is new to them.
Yeah.
So after we've had that conversation, I do offer this entrepreneurial assessment, which kind of gives me a better idea of who they are and kind of what kinds of things would be a good fit for them. We have a back end system that will match them to specific franchises.
Excellent.
And then I take them through a very extensive list. We have 40 different categories of businesses.
Yeah.
So all kinds of different things that they've never even considered before. And then, I kind of get a sense of what kinds of things would be interesting to them.
Yeah.
And so based on that, I go out and do research. I find out what's
Mhm.
available in their local marketplace.
Sure.
Um, I'll do territory checks, and then
Yep.
I'll come back with a presentation. And
Love it.
and I will give them some options that are exactly what they thought they were looking for. And then based on the Zoracle and my own insight, I often will give them a couple of things to consider that
Yeah.
they never really thought of before. And sometimes those are the ones that really click.
Yeah. I love it.
Because they, it's you're seeing something new, but it's new, but it's a fit. It works. And
Yeah.
that's the ones I really like doing.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It resonates well with me because Josh Malik, he'll come in and say, nobody ever thought it woke up one day and said, I want to be a tree guy, So I definitely can appreciate exactly what you're saying there. So hey, as you've been going through this role as a franchise consultant, is there one story, one memorable success story that kind of sticks out to you and still kind of, plays a significant part in your success story as a whole?
Sure. I actually recently made a placement with a woman who was a former sales and marketing executive in the wine
Mhm.
and spirits industry.
Okay.
Really, really capable, qualified woman. And two things kind of hit her at the same time. One, she was about to take maternity leave. And two, the company that she was working for basically eliminated all their whole sales and marketing department. And so
Mm.
instead of going on maternity leave, she was basically out on the street.
Mhm.
And so it actually was a really interesting happenstance for her because it gave her the time and space to really evaluate what she was looking for. And
Sure.
because she had so much time, she was home, she was a new mom, she was able to really dig deep and dive into the discovery process. And we
Yeah.
really evaluated, wow, I mean, probably 6 or 8 different concepts in a really,
Yeah.
really thorough and in-depth way. But we got to a point where there were a couple that just really seemed like a very good fit for her.
Mhm.
And then ultimately, she pulled the trigger on one, and I think she's just kind of started training there now.
Nice.
But I know she's going to do very, very well with this concept.
Yeah.
It's one that scales easily. You can work from home. It's a perfect lifestyle business for a new mom.
Mhm.
And it really does also capitalize on the sales and marketing experience that she brings to it. So
Sure.
been a great, great fit for her.
That's awesome. Where is there ever like maybe an occurrence, or maybe it's the way the candidate's talking about the franchise? Is there like indicators to you that you've noticed through your experience where it's like this person is really on this, like they really like this concept, or maybe the opposite side, like they're not digging it, I can tell.
Yeah, I think the latter is actually more common. I mean, if they don't
Mhm.
like it, it just doesn't click with them.
Yeah.
But and usually I'm presenting multiple concepts simultaneously.
Right.
And so, right away, things start, you can see that a light goes on and something is attractive to somebody.
Hmm.
And then as they go through the discovery process, it gets more and more interesting to them
Yeah.
until they get to the point where, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is the one that I'm pursuing.
Right.
So it's rare that they will do that with just one.
Yeah.
Often they're pursuing multiple tracks at the same time, but usually at some point in the process, one thing just kind of really lights them up, and that's the one they go for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always important to talk about success, but I think that even more so than success, let's talk about some challenges, right? I think that, part of everybody's journey into their career is learning how to improve, learning how to adapt to those new changes, and learning from the experiences and challenges that they've went through.
Mhm.
So on the flip side of a success, talking about that's a great success story. What's something that maybe you've had a challenge that you had to overcome, whether it was a candidate or maybe it was something that, whether it was in your own business that you had to overcome.
Yeah, I think the most common challenge I face with candidates is probably financing.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, often people, they look at the cost of a business. First of all, they have no idea what it costs to get into a business. So,
Yeah.
we have businesses that range from under $50,000 to over 5 million. And
Right.
whether candidates come in at the bottom end of that range or the top,
Yeah.
almost no one just writes a check and buys a franchise.
Right.
So almost everything is financed in some way, shape, or form
Hmm.
anyway. And
Yeah.
and part of the process is getting people to kind of recognize um, where they stand financially
Mm-hmm.
what their, what their income needs are, and what it will take for them to actually get into a business, and how they'll finance that. And
Yeah.
so, generally speaking, if they have some combination of cash, home equity, investments, retirement funds, friends and family that will help,
Yeah.
almost everyone can cobble something together to get into some kind of business that will work for them.
Yeah.
It's not always the thing that they initially thought of, but we can really find some business for almost anybody.
Yeah.
Even if it's something they start part time, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
something they start while, on a semi passive basis while they're
Yeah.
continuing their other career. And we get them started in something that they really can enjoy and scale, and then at some point down the road they can go into that doing it full time, or take on another business and have, multiple
Yeah.
things that they're doing at the same time.
Have some complimentary services going in
Yeah.
there, absolutely. It is very interesting to me as I learn more about, the franchising world as it is. It is very interesting to me to see some of the barriers of entry. So like they're not so aggressive. You think of business ownership, I think traditionally people do think, oh my gosh, like I have to figure all this stuff out. I have to figure out how to market it. I have to figure out how to sell it. Then I have to figure out how to actually do it, right? Outside of actually whatever the business is doing, I have to do all of that. But that's what the franchise is for. And that's what's
Yes.
so beautiful about franchising is that whether you want to start a vending machine or a dog resort, franchise concept, there's
Yes.
something out there for you.
So in some way, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it when I use this term, but it's like buying a business in a box.
Yeah.
So you get the business, you get the instruction manual,
Hmm.
and then you also get the trainers and the people that will
Yeah.
stand behind you and teach you how to do the business, and business coaches and success coaches. And in some businesses they scale very slowly, where you're offering, if it's a work from home business, you
Hmm.
may offer one service to your clients until you kind of saturate the market area, and there's a whole series of other services you can offer. Or if it's a
Yeah.
brick and mortar location, they will help you with site selection, they will help you with
Yeah.
lease negotiations, they will help you with contracting. They have plans already designed for you, so you don't
Yeah.
have to do everything.
Right.
You're buying the help that you need to hit the ground running and achieve success faster.
That's incredible. You're right. That's exactly what franchising is. And I've come to love it very much for the little time that I've been doing it, but God, it is really just an exciting thing. When while you're kind of, talking with candidates, obviously things are constantly changing, right? Regulations and franchising, we could talk about that for an hour. What is kind of your method of staying up to date? If there's anybody out there listening that maybe we can give them some helpful tips on how to incorporate some learning inside of out, like whether it's what you can actually provide to candidates or it's something that you're learning about, whether it's new concepts or anything like that. How do you stay up to date?
Well, that to me is the real benefit of being part of an organization like the FBA. The
Yeah.
Franchise Brokers Association really does provide constant resources for learning. So, whether it's mentoring sessions or deal help, there's
Yeah.
constantly. I'm in educational sessions every single week, multiple times, and they have an enormous database of resources that I can draw upon.
That's
Plus, we have attorneys, accountants,
Mhm.
financing specialists who will come in and do special seminars for us, or we can reach out to, who are also part of our association. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the opportunities for learning and keeping up to date are enormous for me. Plus, the association also is adding new businesses to our inventory virtually every week. So we have,
Wow.
hundreds and hundreds of franchise options that
Yeah.
we can offer to our prospects. And I get new ones every week. And then they do training sessions on them. They call them speed rounds, where the
Yeah.
franchisor will come on. And I think you've been on some of them.
I sure have.
They come
Yeah.
on, they'll tell you about the opportunity. They'll give you the opportunity for questions. They'll make contact. So it's a really great way to kind of increase your knowledge about
Mhm.
franchises in particular and the franchise industry in general.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it's are you going down to the conference for FBA? Are you going to be down in
I
Florida
will
there?
indeed in December. Yep, I'll be
Nice.
there.
We'll be there too. Come check us out. Booth
I
104, right by
absolutely
the
will.
door. I gotta
Absolutely
make,
will.
yeah, I'm gonna make a rhyme out of it. Booth 104, right by the door. I don't know.
Love it.
Maybe I might have to work on that one a little bit.
Now,
But
hey, I already remember where it is.
I love
Right
it.
by the door.
Exactly, exactly. Hey, when you're approach matching potential franchisees, you know, to a role, to an opportunity, is there anything that, you would like little nugget of wisdom that you would leave with, the listeners out there that, hey, if you're going through this process and as you're going through this journey, here's some of the things you might encounter. Here's some, key takeaways that, people who are really looking to get into this industry, what are
Mhm.
some important things that you think they should know?
I think they should start as broadly big pictured as possible.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's, all the time I get people asking about a specific franchise. Usually it's Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And Chick-fil-A, I will tell you, has a terrific business model.
Yeah.
But it's not a traditional franchise system, and it certainly is not right for everybody.
Yeah.
And they also get 20,000 applications a year and give out 200 or 300 franchises,
Yeah.
mostly to their own employees. So it's very
Yeah.
difficult to get a Chick-fil-A. But I would say, kind of look at in the broadest possible terms. Do you want work from home or do you want a brick and mortar business?
Hmm.
Are you somebody that likes to help other people? Are you more bottom line focused? Do you like working with people? Do you like managing people? Do you like sales and
Yeah.
marketing? Look in the kind of the broadest parameters. Don't think of specific businesses. Let me
Hmm.
understand who you are and what will make you most effective, what will make you happy, and then let
Hmm.
me show you some options, and
Yeah.
then really go through the discovery process with each. They might be very different businesses,
Hmm.
but they may offer you the same kinds of rewards, the same kinds of things you're looking for,
Yeah.
until you find the right one for you. Kind of,
Yeah.
I guess I would advise people to just kind of surrender to the process, keep your
Hmm.
mind open, learn as much as you can, and we'll find the right business for you.
Absolutely. I like the idea that in this business, education is free. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
It really is. It's like me, it's my job to literally provide you the information on a specific concept. It's your job to show you the different concepts. And it's funny that a lot of people don't even know we exist, right? That I it's almost like there's a military thing where there's this one specific entity of the military that's like the unicorn, right? Not really many people know what it is. It's called like active duty National Guard. So when I came into franchising, I was like, man, this is kind of like the unicorn of business because, like you said, you're buying this business in a box. You're not doing it alone. While your success is dependent on your ability to really dive in and progress that business forward. And it's just like anything else. You get back what you put in, right? But it's so funny because I came into this and I was like, this is definitely the unicorn. And I'm excited to be a part of the unicorn, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and in terms of the education process and
Hmm.
working with franchise brokers, excuse me. I
You're
mean,
fine.
I didn't know this existed either until I started to consider buying a franchise,
Yeah.
and started working with brokers and other people. And so
Yeah.
in doing my due diligence, I kind of found out a lot of these things, but there's no reason for people to do the research themselves.
Yeah.
There's 4,000 franchises out there.
It's a lot.
Finding the right one for you is next to impossible.
Yeah. What was that business, if you don't mind me asking? What were you looking at and what kind of attracted you to it?
Um, Ironically, it was a franchise
Hmm.
to sell franchises.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that makes
and so
sense.
this is something that I never, so it was basically a franchise to become a business broker, but
Hmm.
you'd be working essentially under the auspices of this other company.
Gotcha.
And I liked what they did. They certainly
Hmm.
had a great process. But in doing my due diligence, I found that, you can become a franchise broker without being a franchise.
Yep.
So the FBA works essentially as a business opportunity.
Yeah.
They provide the training, which you pay for,
Yep.
and they provide all kinds of ongoing support. They also provide incredible systems, which, we use to a terrific CRM and ways to
Mm,
track our candidates and move them through the process. Really, I think the technology the FBA has is just unsurpassed. I think the training
yeah.
is the best. And,
That's
for
good.
me personally, I interviewed with, I validated with all of these companies. And for
Hmm.
me, the right fit was FBA. But
Yeah.
so that was essentially it. I mean, I sort of was looking at this, and I'd looked at a bunch of different kinds of businesses and
Yeah.
quick serve restaurants and consulting and things that kind of interested me. And somehow for me personally, this idea of
Hmm.
franchise brokerage just fit my skill set. I mean, I was a recruiter. Now I'm basically recruiting for franchise businesses.
Yeah, I think that's excellent because you've essentially went through the process that future candidates that
Oh,
you work with,
absolutely.
absolutely, you can resonate with them well. You
Yeah.
can say,
I
"Hey,
went
I've
through the
been in your
discovery
shoes."
process with several
Yeah.
different brands. I went
Yep.
through validation, all the different steps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. I love that you talked about validation. That's such a key part of franchising. And it kind of puts me into thought of, in your opinion, and this is solely your opinion, what separates, a successful franchise system from one that is tending to struggle?
Um, I think it's a lot of things, but a lot of it is culture.
Mm,
And some companies just have this very supportive culture.
yeah.
They're focused on excellence. They're looking to, they don't just, they're not just looking to sign people up. They really evaluate people closely. They want people that kind of fit their system, that are going to work well with the other franchisees. They work well together. They train well together. And they have a
Mm,
system that works. I mean, there's lots of businesses that are successful,
yeah.
but franchise systems that are successful are fewer and farther between. And that's really kind of what we want to focus on. That's why we work
Yeah.
with, people like Neighborly and Josh Tree Experts and Joshua Tree Experts and,
Yeah.
some of the better franchises that are out there, because we can recognize that.
Hmm.
And it's important that people feel supported when they go into this, because
Yeah.
that's this thing that separates a franchise business from just an independent business. You do
Absolutely.
have support. You do have somebody that you can call. You have people who, whatever problem you're facing, they've seen it before and they can
Hmm.
help you overcome it.
Yep.
So that support and that culture, I think, is critically important.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely culture is it's a buzzword almost that, really corporate America, I feel like brought that buzzword on. Oh, the culture of our company is so good. But like what is the culture of their company? Oh, they have pizza
Yeah.
parties, right? But it's like or something like that. It's like
But
no,
every
there's
company does have
yeah,
its unique culture.
yeah,
And
that's true.
and that's one of the reasons we do validation. Frankly, it's not
Mhm.
just to kind of ask questions that the franchisor can't answer.
Yep.
It's to kind of get a sense of, will I fit in with this tribe? Do these
Yeah.
people think like I do? Do they work like I do? Do they play
Right.
like I do?
Yeah.
When I go to the annual convention once a year, these people I'm going to be proud to be among, and I want to get up on the stage as one of the best of these people.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
that's important.
Do they resonate with you? Are you it's almost like the family you choose, right? It really is.
Yes, very much so.
It's franchising, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's a marriage. It absolutely is. It is an agreement. There is legal documents that actually happen, and but this is a marriage between an entrepreneur and a current established brand. And you're really gaining that access as a franchisee. You're really gaining that access and insight, just like you said, and went into there. So hey, Keith, I wanted to did you want to leave the listeners with anything else? I got one quick segment I definitely want to hit. It's a kind of a fun little surprise here. If you want to leave them with anything though, if someone's interested at least in contacting you, Whether if you're listening right now and you like the way that Keith went through the process, you think that you resonate well with Keith and you believe that he can help you find the right franchise opportunity, how would they get in contact with you there, Keith?
You can go to my website, excelsiorfranchisecenter.com. You can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook, Keith Liscio, KeithLiscio, or you can go to Excelsior Franchise Center. Has both a Facebook page and a LinkedIn page. So if you want more information, you can find me there, and I'm happy to work with you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I got one more quick surprise for you. Before I get into that, it is the happy hour. And so I want to ask you, what's your favorite drink? What is, Keith's it's a nice Saturday afternoon. Is Keith having a drink? And if he is, what is he having?
It's probably going to be an Arnold Palmer.
Okay. Yeah.
I drink lots of iced tea. I like to mix it with a little lemonade, and it's really cooling, refreshing on a hot day, and that's probably what I'm going to be drinking.
There you go. I love it. And hey, it doesn't hurt that you threw a little Tito's in there and it hits just right. But
it never hurts. It never hurts.
Hey, so I got this segment. Basically, the segment is called Ask Chat GPT. As you know, AI is increasing. I figure there's a way that we can somehow incorporate this into a fun way in podcasting. So basically what I did was I asked Chat GPT to give me some odd situation, Keith, that you would be in. And it basically has two outcomes. So I want you to kind of think about this situation I'm going to put you in and just let the listeners know which way you're going. So, okay. Keith, you find yourself in a whimsical carnival right at the entrance of two particular rides. The first ride is a time-traveling roller coaster that promises to take you on a journey through history. It'll loop through ancient Egypt. It'll go through medieval Europe and even to the future. The second ride is an oversized teacup, and inside they have a sign claiming that it's actually a portal to an alternate dimension inhabited by talking animals. So, Keith, I know that the listeners are really wanting to know, are you going to take that time-traveling roller coaster, or are you going to go to the alternate dimension with talking animals in the upside-down teacup?
Okay. Well, I think I would probably take the time-traveling roller coaster.
Okay.
And here's why. Because the time-traveling roller coaster, I think we can learn so much from the past and from the experiences of others. And so, I think if I was on that time-traveling roller coaster, I'd probably see and learn things that I could take into my my life and my career that I don't know that I would get from the talking animal.
Yep. I don't know. If my dog could talk, if I could have my dog at the talking animal place, then I might want to, because I have to know why she insists on barking every single time I sit down. That would be my first question. But I love to hear that you would go back because you're a learner, and I can tell you want to get that additional knowledge. And
I'm
you're
a
not
thinker.
alone.
My Zoracle profile. We do these entrepreneurial assessments. I'm an achiever thinker, and so
there you go.
That's all achiever thinkers go on the roller coaster.
There, guy. You know what? And I might be finding out that there are some achiever thinkers in the franchise consultant world. So that is definitely a nugget of wisdom that I'll put up there and definitely take with me. So, but hey, Keith. Well, like I said, I appreciate you taking this time so much. Is there any, final thoughts or anything like that? Anything you want to leave the listeners with?
No, I think that, business ownership is great. It offers all kinds of benefits to people. If you really want to get control of your time, your life, your finances, think about going into business for yourself. Franchise businesses are great options for people who have, who can work a system, don't have necessarily a great idea or a world-changing company that they can see themselves in, but there are lots and lots of options that will work for people. People that are successful in corporate America can be really successful as franchise business owners. And I know the good franchises. I can help put almost anybody in a franchise that will work for them.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this, if you're a listener and you want to work with someone who is dedicated to you, make you feel like you're almost the only client that he's working with, I'm currently working with Keith with someone, and he is just excellent. Always in communication. He is awesome. So if you're looking for someone who's dedicated and definitely wants to help you find the best franchise, absolutely reach out to Keith. So, hey, on that note, Keith, thank you so much for joining the Franchise Happy Hour. It's been an absolute pleasure of mine. And I
Thank you,
can't wait
Dylan.
to.
It's been a pleasure for me too. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, cheers to you, cheers to me, and cheers to franchise success.